Hello, it's Bob Green up here from BNI Sydney Central and Sydney South, Executive Director for those regions. We're going to talk to you today about word of mouth marketing and how you can get it. It's one of the most powerful things that have been part of marketing in the human universe for a long time. And often we all know that, we all know it very deeply, but we don't necessarily understand how we can activate it and how we can actually access it. But there is a way you can get it. We're going to be talking to you about the methodology behind getting it today. So just before we get into that, a few introductions in terms of who we are and who I am. So I'm the Executive Director for BNI Sydney Central and Sydney South. I look after BNI regions from Sydney Harbour down to Nowra, down in the south coast, and from the eastern suburbs out to Auburn. So any of the chapters that fall into that particular area come under myself and my team's jurisdiction to look after them and support them and take them on their journey. Ivan Meisner is the founder of BNI. He founded it in 1985. We'll talk a bit about that during this session. And Dan Shepherd's the development director, creating new chapters. Lisa Garrido is the area director in charge of support. So she has a team of ambassadors and directors who look after the chapters that we actually have there in the field. And my wife Louise also helps me with running this particular region. We've been doing this since 2009. If you want to find out a little bit about BNI, if you haven't been exposed before, then we do have testimonials around some of the experiences that our members have had in the region, and certainly we would encourage you to go through those if you haven't got an opportunity to go to a chapter yet and talk to the members and so on. But certainly there are plenty of material around for you to be able to find out whether we're real or not and what we do and how we execute what we do in this region to make sure people get their word of mouth marketing. So I'd recommend you go there, have a look at that, pop along to a chapter, talk to members, talk to leaders in the chapter and so on to get a good feeling of how we execute this particular product. So a little about BNI, just quickly. Been around for 32 years. It was started in 1985 by Dr. Ivan Meisner. It was started just as one group. Effectively, he didn't expect it to be any more than one group. In fact, he just thought it would be something that he would do to actually advance his management consulting business. And as it turned out, within that first year, he ended up with 10 of them. Because one of the things he did when he first set it up was that he only allowed one category per member. That restriction forced other people who wanted to be part of the group to actually go and find another group or build a group. So he facilitated that process. And as a result of that initial effort back in 1985, BNI is now in 71 countries. It has 8,026 chapters as of 2017, 220,000 members. It closed 13.5 billion US dollars across those 220,000 members in the last 12 months. And certainly here in Australia, we've closed over $400 million amongst the 6,000 members in Australia. So it's been a very successful accidental model. It was originally set up as a cooperative, but Ivan found that it couldn't operate completely as a cooperative. It actually needed some kind of an education and training facility to be able to facilitate those chapters working, for the members to be able to replicate what he had originally started in 1985. So BNI was born back then purely to provide the accountability, the support, the education and the structure to make sure that when members decided to make a chapter, they were going to get a similar experience to that first chapter that was created. And there's been many replications now of that particular model as a result of that strategy back in 1985. The key things that make it work are the fact that it's a very structured approach. Word of mouth marketing, when you talk to different people who are out there in the business world and you ask them where they get most of their business from, and certainly when you're talking to SMEs specifically, they'll all say word of mouth marketing and referrals are one of the key elements of them being able to grow their business. So having a structured approach to being able to generate that has been a great draw card for the organisation, and it's certainly been able to give predictable results and consistent results, which is more important. It does take a lot of commitment from the individual, so not everybody is suited to be in a BNI chapter, because the only way that you can actually develop a word-of-mouth marketing team is to have people who are mutually committed to each other's welfare and their success. One of the things that they found back in 85 was that without the necessary education and training on how to actually operate the system, operate the structure, it just simply doesn't work. So there's a huge amount of inventory of IP that Ivan's created over the last 32 years to make sure that the members have got access, and fairly open and ample access, to as much education as you could ever possibly want on how to develop relationships, how to develop a word-of-mouth marketing team, and how to activate that team. And the whole organisation, right from the very beginning, has been formed on the basis of people helping each other. So it really does depend on the attitude of givers gain. It's actually the tagline for BNI, givers gain. So essentially anybody who comes into a chapter is expected to have a helping others type of culture or mentality, mindset, and we capture that in the name Givers Gain. If people are coming in there to takers gain, so to speak, it just doesn't work. If everybody's there to take what they can get out of the group, it would simply implode. So we are very mindful of the fact that we're looking for people with the right kind of spirit in order to be able to build those relationships. And the next thing that actually makes it work is that the members actually hold each other accountable. BNI doesn't hold you accountable, the members do. So when you join a chapter, your peers select you, your peers interview you, your peers hold you accountable for your product or service, and they do it every year. So it's not a one-stop event where you just join a chapter and you're there for life. You are actually held accountable every month and every year for being able to walk your talk and protect the reputations of the other people in the room. So they're the key elements which actually make BNI work, and it's quite a complex fabric of activity in order to support that. So what we're looking for when we're actually trying to build groups or bring people into a group is we're looking for people who've got strong commitment to actually be part of a referral group. And by that, it means that they're prepared to invest in other people. And there's a number of variables which we'll go through later on that you actually need to qualify in order to be in a group. So they've got to be prepared to invest the time to build those relationships, because you only get word of mouth advocacy if you've got relationships in place and you're building a know, like, and trust equation or algorithm with other people who are happy to actually promote you on the back of their reputations, which is the biggest leverage you'll ever get. And it's quite a powerful one. You've got 30 or 40 people in a room who actually know, like, and trust you, and they're using their collective 300 to 400 years of business connections and reputation in the marketplace. Collectively, they're leveraging you off that 300 to 400 years of experience and reputation in the marketplace. So it does take a fair degree of commitment to be part of the group, because they're taking a fair risk when they actually take people on board into their chapters. We are definitely not looking for hunters, people who want to come in and just actually milk the opportunities in the room and leave again. They are something that we are definitely looking out to keep out of the groups, because they can damage groups. So the sort of things that you need to consider if you're actually going to be involved in BNI is you need to consider whether you want to grow your business. If you don't want to grow your business, then you're not going to find BNI works for you, because what happens is, I go back to the initial statement I said, that effectively a BNI chapter has one category per member, and when you have one category per member, you have the exclusive rights to market in that seat to the chapter. And if you don't want to grow your business, there are going to be opportunities coming for that particular category, and the members are going to be frustrated because they can't give those opportunities to you. So it's not a social club, it's a business group. Are you able to grow your business? So you might want to grow your business, you might want to double your business or treble your business or quadruple your business. But if you haven't got the resources or the capacity to be or financial capacity or what other resources or capacities you need to be able to grow, then you're not going to be able to service the referrals that come in. So when people are actually giving you referrals, what they're doing is they're risking their reputation by recommending you. They're giving you introductions, warm introductions to opportunities to be able to do business. And if you can't respond by being able to take it up to grow your business, then you're going to simply embarrass yourself and the person referring them to you. So that's the second requirement. You clearly need to be referable. So the starting point for the conversation, I suppose, is when we actually start doing due diligence on people, we want to know that your clients are happy with you, that you actually are walking your talk, that you actually do deliver on what you say you do. And are you committed to building relationships? Are you prepared to put the time in necessary to build those personal relationships with other like-minded business professionals? Because if you're not prepared to commit that time, you simply won't get their commitment in return, and you won't get the sort of success that we want to create for those people that participate in a BNI chapter. If you, we do have a Vimeo channel where we actually go through in more detail about how BNI works and so on. That's the BNI Discovery channel on our Vimeo channel, and there's the URL there for that if you want to get more information, more than this particular webinar covers. So the way BNI works is effectively we have a systematic approach to developing your referability, if you like, developing you into a referral partner. The first thing you're going to be doing is practicing a lot of communication with a lot of other business owners, and we'll be talking to you about how you do that. We give you basic training on communicative skills, and we get you to think about your business and get clarity around what sort of demographic you're marketing to and how to structure your pitch to the group so that they actually know what you're looking for and they can be best empowered to help you. We get you to develop your profile. So we go through a process to extract who you are, what you represent, put it out there in the public space. In fact, BNI Connect is, as I said, is 220,000 people connected around the world, but there have been literally hundreds and hundreds of thousands more than those people who have been through the BNI system over 32 years, and they still use the BNI website to find reliable suppliers. So getting your profile out there on the public websites and getting it crafted so that it actually has the right sort of presentation is definitely going to enhance opportunities for you amongst the BNI global community, as well as your local community. We then give you the tools on how to build your network. You can build your network both inside the chapter, and you can build your network from people who visit the chapter and outside the chapter by using your chapter. So we talk about how you can do that. And one of the things you'll find that in the process of building your network and getting a much more influential spread of opportunities around your business, you'll need to know how to manage your network. So we'll talk about how you can strategize the management of that network so you get the best return on your investment. And of course, there are opportunities to continue to grow the network. As you develop more skill, more depth in your network, you'll find there are ways that we can use the collaboration within the chapter to be able to expand your network. And all of that amounts to referrals and ongoing referrals and growing referrals the longer you stay in a chapter. So let's talk about the timeline, because one of the things that often gets people confused is they see people, they go to a BNI chapter and they might see 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, sometimes as much as $1 million being passed at a meeting, and they think, boy, I want some of this. How can they come to a meeting and in 1 week pass $200,000 or $100,000? How can that possibly happen? Well, it doesn't just happen overnight. Building relationships is a slow process, and it does take a lot of effort. So we tend to say to people, if you're coming to BNI, you have to have a 2 to 5 year mindset in order to be able to experience what you see happen in a chapter. The first step in that process is coming in and doing an induction program. We do a 90-day induction program in this particular region where you get an intensive training and education experience and mentoring experience to get you up to speed with the skills. You have BNI membership, which is an annual fee, which basically goes on for every year you remember BNI, and that's these bars that are on the chart there at the moment indicate the relative sort of expense, if you like, you're incurring over a quarterly period. So and then you've got the biggest charge, in fact, of being involved in BNI is the cost of being at the venue. The chapter has relationships with the venue, and they basically have to levy a charge to hold their meeting somewhere, and that's all managed by the chapter. So they're the three financial inputs that you've got to put into the process. And during that first year, what we are doing, and certainly the first 90 days intensively, but during that first year, we are looking to educate you and get you up to speed on how to train a marketing department. You aren't coming in to pitch to the room, you're pitching through the room. And that's a completely different mindset to what most people do when they're networking. So we have to teach you how to do that, and that takes a bit of practice. So over the course of a number of years of being in the chapter, you'll find you'll start off as a fairly sort of green recruit in terms of being able to generate referrals. And each year, as time goes on, it will continue to grow and grow. And I've had people in BNI now for 18 years, and they just generate all their business all their business comes out of the BNI chapter. So they just get better and better at it. They get trusted, more and more trusted as they go on, and so on. So what happens, if we look at this red curve that comes up here, you have this J-curve effect, where you make the first year is your investment in time and money to be able to get up to speed, to get the induction process out of the way, to get the education out of the way, so you actually know the process. You know that the group in the room are the right group for you, and they know that you're the right person for them. And then once you've gone through that initial period of anything from 6 months to 18 months, then you'll find that the referral rate that you're receiving will continue to climb and climb and climb, so that at the end of the day, we would hope that between 50 and 80% of your business is coming through your chapter. That would be our expectation. And we certainly have people who are getting 100% of their revenue growth out of their chapter. So that's what the sort of the process feels or looks like in terms of its financial commitment and the journey that you go on. The 90-day induction process effectively is a fairly intensive process. People just don't come in and start doing BNI and suddenly word of mouth marketing works for them. It doesn't look like that at all. We have a regional team that support you, admin people, ambassadors, chapter directors, and so on. Inside the chapter, we have a mentor coordinator who has a range of mentors that could be working in their team, who are there to make sure that you're going to get the best possible journey. When you join, you'll be asked to do a member success program online, which enables you to basically understand referral marketing in its basic 101 form. And you'll be doing some new member onboarding webinars. We typically run 3 to 4 of those, and they're held every week to help you get your head around the space of doing referral marketing. The chapter mentor will run you through an 8-session program, the first 4 in the first 30 days, where you'll actually just spend 10 or 15 minutes on some of the philosophies and structures and so on behind how BNI works. And then once we've got through that first 30 days of induction, you'll be visiting the chapter obviously during this time and building relationships and doing one-to-ones during this time as well, which is part of our normal protocol. You'll then be checked in by the local office, the admin office, and the ambassador to see how you're tracking after that first 30 days, to make sure you've got all the access you need, all the education you require, that you haven't got any hurdles you haven't overcome, and so on. The chapter mentor will continue to support you through the balance of the mentoring program, another 4 sessions. You'll be getting this program via email, via face-to-face, and via video links. So you have a range of options to be able to get up to speed with that program. And then you'll also be required to go to 4 hours of group training, face-to-face training, so that you can get all of the skills necessary in place to be an operational and effective member. We'll check in again with you at the end of that second 60 days and make sure that you're on track and make sure that you're being exposed to all the education and training that you need and that you are stepping up to it. This first 90-day induction process is actually a test for the chapter to see whether or not you're going to be a successful member. I should point out that that basically this investment that the chapter's making in you is for a long-term result. So they'll be actually tracking how you're going to make sure you're going to be an effective person in the room. In the next 30 days, so within the first 90 days, the last part of this 3-month period, we'll be giving you opportunities to go to some optional training, which could include public speaking and some business planning. There'll also be other educational options like podcasts and blogs and so on that we actually put out on a regular basis. You'll be checked in by our office and the chapter director this time. And the journey you've been on for that 90 days will be passed over to the membership committee to review your progress during that induction. So what happens after the 90 days, the membership committee will review whether you've stepped up to the education, you've stepped into the training, you've embraced the process, and that you've prepared yourself to be a successful member. So they have the right at this point in time to be able to decline your ongoing membership because they don't want to be investing in somebody who is not stepping into it. All of the members of a chapter are actually obligated to invest their time and energy in the new applicant, and we're giving them the 90-day opportunity to say, yes, we're happy with this person. They look like they're embracing what we need to do. They reflect the values of our chapter. They are participating at the level that we require. We actually want to invest more time in this person. If you are declined, then you get a pro rata refund for the unused portion of your annual membership fee. If you're accepted, we're all good to go. You get endorsed and away you go for the next 9 months. And each 12 months, you will have to be reviewed to see that you are walking your talk and reflecting the standards of your given chapter. The actual membership part component of your journey, effectively, when they take you into that very first step, the membership committee has to really do due diligence on the members. I've mentioned it a couple of times that what the members are doing are actually sharing their reputations. They're sharing their credibility. They're actually having a room full of people with, if you like, measured reputational experience in the marketplace, and that credibility pool that's been created by those 25, 30, 40, 50 people in the room is being shared by all of them. So they want to make sure that the person coming into the room is going to meet all of the requirements to make sure that credibility pool isn't diluted or isn't drained. So they're looking at things like, are you referable? Have you got a growth focus? Are your values aligned with those of BNI? And you'll see the core values down there: givers gain, building relationships, lifelong learning, traditions and innovation, positive attitude, accountability and recognition. These are the values of BNI. So we want to make sure the values that the new applicant brings in is consistent with that. Is the category that you're looking at open in the chapter? Is it going to cause any dramas with any other category? And that can be, the bigger the chapter gets, the more challenging that can be. So they want to make sure that the category is going to be a fit. And of course, looking at the individual and whether they're really committed. Are they really stepping up? Have they got the right mindset to be able to commit to the whole process? So assuming you get through that particular conversation, and just to sort of give you the heads up, getting accepted into a BNI chapter is roughly about 50% on average. So 1 in every 2 people do not get accepted because there's something in those 5 different measures there that doesn't line up. When the chapters get bigger, it gets harder to join them. So if you go to a 60-member chapter, it's likely that 90% of the applicants in a 60-member chapter will get declined because there'll be something that's not quite right with the other 59 members in the room or 60 members in the room. It could be a category overlap. It could be any range of things that could potentially not make it a fit for that particular chapter. The smaller the chapter, the higher the probability you'll be able to join that chapter. Once you get into the process, we work on your clarity and your pitch. Make sure you've got a good, sharp idea about what type of business you're looking for, what type of clients you're looking for, what's the demographic of those clients, where do we find them, how do you introduce them, and so on. So you'll be delivering every week your referral requests to the group once you've actually refined your clarity and pitch as to what you're looking for. There is an obligation by the members of the group to basically do one-to-ones at the rate of 1 to 2 a week with at least one other member of the chapter. And we do those one-to-ones in order to learn more about your business, how it operates, how we can actually open doors for you, and so on. So that's a critical part of the whole process. And they typically average about 1 to 1.5 a week, something like that. But if you aim for 2, that's about the right sort of measure to get the best results. In fact, the more one-to-ones you do, the more results you'll get. You'll obviously have an opportunity to do group presentations. So a chapter does a roster on who's coming up for their 10-minute presentation. Every chapter meeting typically has a 10-minute presenter, and that's selected from the members on a rotational basis. So if you're in a 30-member chapter, every 30 weeks roughly, you'll be getting up and doing a 10-minute presentation to the group of 30 business people. There's also a concept called power groups, where the people who have got the most natural symbiotic relationships with you to be able to refer you operate at a different level. And power groups will generate, once you've got yourself a power group, and it takes a bit of time to get them because you have to have very good, solid relationships to make a power group work. You can get 75% of your referrals can come from a small group in your power group inside the chapter. So that's the process that goes on within the chapter in terms of the background. Every week I've got education and practice up there. So you're practicing every week all of these elements. You're also getting education every week. So every single week there's an education coordinator delivering some elements around how to be a more effective networker. And of course you've got the director team who provide workshops as well. In terms of being able to then use all that weekly experience, that weekly commitment that you're putting into your experience with your group, you're obviously going to be out there networking. I mean, networking at the BNI chapter because there's visitors coming along to the chapter and these people have never met you before, and this is an opportunity for you to grow your network. And there's an interesting thing about that particular process is that once you're actually invited to a BNI chapter and you come and meet these people who are peer-reviewed, who are holding each other accountable, then you stand out as being the supplier of choice amongst 30 or 40 people in the room in your particular category, and it leverages your ability to be able to extend your network quite deeply. We also recommend that you get out there and do networking generally, and you do that collaboratively. You go out with 2 or 3 or 4 of your referral partners in your chapter, and you work the networking circuit so you can meet general people out there in the networking environment, so you can bring them along to your chapter and get them exposed to your members as well as yourself in an environment where you are clearly trusted. So inviting is a clear part of the strategy. So each member is expected to invite roughly 1 business person each month. And if you've got 30 business people in a chapter and each person's inviting 1 person a month, you've got 30 new people coming along to meet the chapter every month in a structured environment where you are positioned amongst advocates. So those people coming along are more likely to take a relationship with you more seriously than if you're just one of the other punters out there at a networking circuit. So inviting is a core element, and so important, in fact, that something like 30 to 40% of all the business that goes through a BNI chapter actually comes from the visitors who visit the room from outside the chapter. So within the chapter, you're obviously sitting there in a category which has been selected, you've been peer reviewed, you've had due diligence done on your business. And as you get better and better at being able to pitch and do all this activity, then you're going to have more and more influence over the people in the room. But more importantly, what happens is because you're so well connected with all of these business owners in the room, you actually now have a source of resources for your own contacts, your own network. So you become a gatekeeper effectively to introduce people to people who can solve their problems, people that you know, like, and trust, that you can comfortably recommend and refer to. So you give them a win and you give your particular network a win. So you become a point of influence for your network in and outside the chapter. And of course, all of that activity leads to revenue for you. So essentially, you're generating revenue for others and they like to reciprocate. You're all doing this for each other. And that's when you get into that profitability phase of the relationship. Both of those 2 columns on the right-hand side have got a lot of accountability around them. We actually measure everything. We monitor the activity that the members are doing. And because we actually hold people accountable for doing these activities, we get that mutual commitment that is the absolutely critical part of making BNI work. Without the mutual commitment of people to do one-to-ones, to show up to the meetings each week, to respect their attendance, to make sure that they've got a clear pitch to help empower the members to be able to help them, without all of that happening, effectively the BNI model would not work. So accountability goes hand in hand with getting the commitment. It's the commitment between the members that actually produces the results. So let's have a look at the numbers in terms of the cost of being involved. The 90-day induction program costs $847, including GST, and that's a one-off investment you've got to make to be able to get up to speed and understand how to run the BNI program. The annual membership is $1,045 each year, which is included. You've got to pay that in the first year as well as the induction program, of course. So in the first year, it's $1,892. Then obviously each year after that, it's $1,045. Outside of that, you've got the venue charges. Now, the venues vary all over the place. Every chapter negotiates its own venue. They select what breakfast they want and all that type of thing. And they run their own bank account. They've got their own treasurer. And the venue charge gets paid to the chapter, and the chapter pays the venue. So it ranges from $30 to $50 a week, and it's typically charged monthly by the chapter. So that can vary. That's constantly on the move in terms of when things are changed, if they change venues, if they change the menu, and so on. You also need to put aside or integrate into your work life, which is the preferred way I look at it, 3 to 4 hours a week. So what actually happens for the best members, the people who get the best results, they're the ones that actually integrate the BNI time into the way they do business. It's not something they do in addition to the way they currently do business. So they actually change the way they do business. And at the end of the day, you can identify 3 to 4 hours a week, which is specifically devoted to doing the BNI process. But effectively what happens for the ones that are most effective, they just change the way they do business. So instead of knocking on doors and trying to market and type of thing with direct mail and things and so on, they're actually working through their chapter to basically get the best possible results. And by changing their mindset, their conversations, their dialogue, their training, they are actually doing themselves a favour and getting a much better return on their investment. And as proof of that, in 2016, we had 650 members in this particular region, and those members generated $103.5 million in business here in Sydney, in this particular region that I manage. So if you try to think about it or sum it up, a chapter of roughly 30 members, which is a little lower than our average. We run about 35 members, but a chapter of 30 members, it costs about $60 a week all up between your venue and your membership fees and so on. You've got a marketing cost of roughly a couple of dollars per member per week to have these people who are activated at word of mouth machines for you, looking out for opportunities and needs in the marketplace when it comes about and ready to actually recommend you. And you're doing that off the back of hundreds of hours of reputational development that's gone on amongst those people in that community. So they're the costs involved, and the benefits involved, obviously. But here's some of the softer benefits. Obviously, you've got an exclusive business category. You are seen as the expert in your space in that particular chapter. You get that 90 days of intensive induction, training, and mentoring to make sure you understand how to do referral marketing, how to do word-of-mouth marketing. Without that, we find that people are very, very low on the success score. So we've actually ramped that up every year since I've been involved. I just keep increasing this first 3-month process to make sure that we get successful members. We find that the more people invest in that first 90 days in terms of understanding how to do it, the more likely they are likely to be long-term players in the chapter. We do ongoing training for the rest of your membership. So whilst you're in BNI, there will be constant workshops, constant education, constant reminders of how to make this stuff work, because it does change from time to time. It does develop as technology changes the way we actually interface and communicate with people. So things do keep moving. You can't assume that what you learned 5 years ago is the same today. There's an on-site, online website process. There's a global website for BNI, and you can find anybody in any country who does anything that's covered by the BNI categories of about 500. So you become part of that trade directory. So if somebody in London is looking for your particular profession in Sydney, then they can actually find you, and you can connect to people around the world through that particular website as well. So it's like a closed LinkedIn structure, if you like, so that you can basically find all of the other web developers in the world that you might want to liaise with, or accountants, or whatever it is. They have group discussions, a whole range of activities that occur on that website that allow you to extend your network globally. There are international connections and conferences, and I would strongly recommend, if you've got the opportunity, to go to those. You'll find that most conferences have got typically 400 to 500 people at them, and you can make some amazing connections when you actually meet other BNI members from around the world. They're all coming from the same kind of mindset, and they're all looking for ways they can actually help each other. If you ever decide to be part of the group, you'll get opportunities to get trained up as a director or an ambassador to actually extend your reach across other chapters, and we provide training in that as well. And of course, what happens is when you're coming into a BNI network, you're there with other similar businesses who are not in your profession, but they're actually the same part of their journey in their particular field. And you'll get a lot of inspired thought around how you can grow your business, how you can manage your business, some of the techniques and strategies that others are using successfully, and they'll be more than willing to share those with you to make sure that you're going to be a successful operator, because they want you to be successful. It's in their interest for you to be absolutely successful. So if you need to grow personally, professionally, or financially, or you want to grow your business, or you want to increase your field staff without having to go out there and put on a complete sales team and spending all the money, that like hundreds of thousands of dollars for a sales team. And if you'd like to have some kind of a stake in a large marketing business such as a BNI chapter and have a trusted supply source for your network, so trusted resources that you can refer to your network to actually make you more valuable to your network, so you are more influential in your network, then maybe this is something you want want to consider. So if you want to know more, you can go to our website, www.bnisc.com.au. In that website, you'll see Find a Meeting. You can just visit a chapter, and I strongly recommend you do this. So this is your first time you've been exposed to BNI. This would be my first step I would recommend. You'd go to a meeting, register to go along, pick a chapter that's basically suits a day or a location that you want to go to, have a talk to the members, have a talk to the leadership teams, get a feel for what their experience has been. If you want to go faster than that, you can email support@bnisc.com.au, and we'll get back in touch with you on how to track you into introducing you to a chapter. Or you can contact me directly, bob@bnisc.com.au. Give me a call on 9191 0691. And if you just want to keep in touch with us and you're not too sure whether this is the right thing to do, want to do more research, and that's fine, connect up with us on Facebook and just stay in touch with us. So when opportunities come up, you never know, you might be the one who gets the gig. So if you've got any questions, pop them across to admin@bnisc.com.au or support@bnisc.com.au, and they'll answer any general questions for you. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you've learned a little about what BNI is about. I've tried to keep this fairly short and tight. There's a lot more to know about it, but certainly this might start your interest going and start a journey that could change your business life. Thank you again, and we'll be in touch if you reach out. Thank you. Bye for now.